keeping the commitment 24/7.
I come to you for facts. I really appreciate what you and your team do.
Today's News Talk Radio, TNT.
All right. Yes, absolutely. We are very pleased to be rejoined now by our friend Eric Rice from the Rice Report. Eric, welcome back to State of the Nation.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Very good. You know, just trying to understand the state of our nation, just watching lawfare and everything. It's a dumpster fire, man. It is a complete dumpster fire. I'll give you an example. Right now, we're discovering that more retirees than ever are having to consider returning to work. We're also finding out that Walmart is one of the only, sort of major retailers that is functioning well, as far as being profitable. And I wonder, what do you make of that? I mean, those are kind of, they may sound like small things, but they're actually indicative of something very bad happening, I think.
Something very bad happening. I mean, one of the things to look at when we look at our retirees or our seniors, and any successful society throughout history has always taken care of their elders, because elders provide wisdom to the youth. We are going the opposite direction. We are actually trying to starve our elders out. The people who were forced to the bioweapon during the scamdemic, they were forcing it upon the elders first. There's a reason for that. There's not enough money in Social Security. It doesn't exist. They continue to raid these public funds for crony capital, and they don't have enough money to cover their debt. When we look at Walmart in that instance, Walmart is the largest employer in over half of the states in this country. They are already a monopoly on retail, and they're offering these jobs to senior citizens as a good PR move. That's it. There's no real function for them. They stack shelves or they greet people when they say hello. These are former engineers. These are people who have real careers, who have real wisdom to share with the world, and they end up saying hello to you when you walk into Walmart. The other topic that just crossed my podcast the other day on a comment on YouTube that really, really jumbled my mind a little bit, because I've been talking about how taxes are theft. Inflation is a tax. That is theft. And one of the biggest thieveries in this country that people don't talk about is property tax. And I love hearing people in Washington, D.C. finally talking about eliminating the property tax for those over the age of 65. It should be eliminated for everyone. But over the age of 65, you're done. You've paid taxes. You could pay off your home all I'm in Texas. My property taxes are $17,000 a year. If I was retired, living on Social Security, there's no way I could afford that, even if I paid off my home.
Well, and that's their whole plan. You're absolutely correct, because those people don't have children in the school systems. They're not using local services that much. And as you said, they paid in for a substantial portion of their life. And I always say to people, Eric, if you think you own your home, just try not paying your property taxes. But it's interesting here from a political standpoint, right? Because Democrats always used to try to scare the elderly that Republicans were going to take away their Social Security. And here under Joe Biden, you have retirees being forced to go back to work just to put cat food on the table. And you've got Donald Trump proposing an end to the income tax. It's an interesting political dynamic.
Well, you're 100% correct. One of the funniest things about having this interview today, because today is June 19th, today is Juneteenth, which is the day that the slaves are celebrating being liberated from Democrats by Republicans. Yet since that happened, they've all become Democrats. So when you look at this twisted web of psychological operations that's been cast upon the American people for this long, it makes perfect sense that what they would do is they would remove any sort of abundance for any retiree and then start talking about universal basic income to solve the problem. So the problem is not paying Washington, D.C. less. The problem is they're not giving you enough free money that they print. This tangled web of politics, I think, is going to really get unveiled in the next 3 to 4 months. It needs to be. It'll probably take 2 decades to do, but I think that Trump is going into hyperdrive, talking about ending the Fed, getting rid of property, getting rid of income tax, and then ultimately going to sound money procedures through Bitcoin. Like, this is a really transitional time in this nation, and I'm excited, guys. I'm going to launch out a Bitcoin for normal people video next week or over the weekend. I think you guys will like it. But yeah, you're dead on point in the fact that politically, what they're doing is saying, listen, I know taxes are really high and inflation's really high, but don't worry about it because we'll print more money and give it to you if you vote for us this coming November. This is exactly how this happens. History repeats itself every 4 years, and every 4 years in between there, there are hundreds of billions of dollars spent on media convincing people that the next stupid move is the smartest thing they've ever seen.
Yeah, and they've been printing money like nonstop since 2020 on a crazy ludicrous speed level. And that's not really working out for everybody. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was great to get a $1,200 check or have a PPP loan or whatever, but when you look at what that actually did to the economy, where the interest rates are right now, what it's done to the housing market, retail markets, it's like we've experienced like it or not a fundamental change where people aren't going to movie theaters anymore. They aren't. A trip to Walmart is now a middle class grocery and pharmacy trip instead of like, a lower income, like everything trip. And they're saying that this whole thing with Walmart is driven by the fact that it is a pharmacy and a grocer. Like that's one of the only reasons even Walmart is performing well as a retailer. So it's quite the paradigm that they've created for us here, isn't it? Quite a mess with all that extra printing.
Well, the interesting thing about getting involved in whatever this is that we all do, trying to expose the truth, whatever category you give that to, is that when you really look at Walmart and Nvidia is the two big stories, right? Walmart's the primary retailer. It's very obvious. When I was growing up, I couldn't understand why local stores were upset because, wow, we had a Walmart. We have everything that we need. That's nationalizing retail. Walmart is a huge lobbyist organization that's part of truly nationalizing the ability for us to buy our goods and services from whoever we want. Because if only Walmart exists, only Walmart profits. But are they doing that well? Last week, the Walton family sold $900 million of Walmart stock. Now, they sell every year, but almost $1 billion. Michael Dell just sold $740 million worth of Dell computer. You're watching NVIDIA insiders dump on a regular basis, including the second largest shareholder dumped almost $900 million in the market the other day. We are living through an absolute anomaly of two things, of stupidity. Like it's almost anomalous how dumb the world is right now. That's one side. And it's not most people's fault. They don't have time to track these things. That's what guys like us do. We spend our free time trying to figure out how to help people. And then the other side, the other anomaly in this world is how just obscure and how far off away people are from noticing governments inflating things like NVIDIA, like Walmart, so their buddies get paid and you think the economy's fine, and all of a sudden it just falls. This happened in 29, 87, and 2008. This is history repeating itself all over again.
Yeah, George Santayana said those who don't remember history are doomed to repeat it, and you're exactly correct. That is what's happening. By the way, I note that Nancy Pelosi and her husband made another $5 million off of their NVIDIA stock this past month after making $4 million last month. So look, here's the thing. We're often guilty of presentism, right? Democrats do it. They judge our founding fathers, for example, based on standards of racial sensitivity in 2024. They want to apply that to late 18th century people. And one of the aspects of presentism that gets us in trouble is that we can't imagine a time before what we know now, right? So people can't imagine a time where we didn't have a Federal Reserve and a Federal Reserve currency. Well, we did just fine. They can't imagine a time before an income tax. So, well, guess what? We had booms and we had busts. That's true. But they were market driven. And a pound of beans or a pound of coffee or a pound of butter pretty much cost what it cost all through the 19th century up until 1913 when we instituted the Fed. It's only since 1913, so 111 years, that we've had a baked in the cake, built in 2 percentage points plus inflation every year, year over year, so that your money constantly gets stolen out from under you. As you said, inflation is theft. I think that we're in for a fundamental change, and it's one of those things, just like we could never imagine a world without a Soviet Union, and then bam, overnight it happened. I think that's what we're up against. I think very soon we're going to have sudden changes, which is why I would love somebody like a Josh Hawley to be vice president, so we could have Donald Trump go in like a wrecking ball, realign everything, and then have somebody like, if not Josh Hawley himself, somebody like him to literally build America back better over the next 8 years.
Well, that catchphrase is not going to get you any new listeners.
No, I know that. I'm using it ironically. Everybody knows what I'm saying. That's why exactly I said right. Literally.
Josh Hawley's awesome. Like, there's no way around that. I think that we probably Trump probably needs an embedded career politician to navigate it. That's the common sense approach to politics. I personally think we needed 2 outsiders to come in and fix things. All of your advisory cabinet, everyone involved in the State Department, Defense Department, those can be your traditional people. But Josh Hawley is not even mentioned in the vice president pool. I agree with you. I think out of all the ones selected, he's the guy when he's young, he's aggressive, he tells the truth. His political campaign donation trail is pretty much clean, which is very hard to find someone who hasn't taken money from AIPAC or some of these other groups.
And he's an insider as a senator, but he's a total outsider. Plus, he's career military.
Yes. And he's got honor. I mean, that's the one thing. He's the only politician I've heard in the last few years say that they made a mistake. Actually, I'd scratch that in my whole life. And he was wrong on a topic in like 2021. And I remember him saying, you know what, I saw that the wrong way. This is the way it is. And that's what we need more of. People make mistakes, but when you cover them up, it's like a crime. The crime is bad. The cover-up's worse. And we're watching an entire generation of cover-up experts finally get exposed. And this stuff is happening all across the board. I loved seeing some of the things that were coming out in the VP race where people are starting to wake up and say, never this person, never that person. Because what they've done, I remember back when I was in technology years ago, this must have been 2009 or maybe 2010 or 11. A group came to me and said, hey, listen, we want to build an app to help people locate doctors. And I said, great idea. Let's go further. And the entire concept was bedside manner. They wanted to rate doctors based on bedside manner. And I didn't think twice about it. And I didn't take the deal because it didn't make sense to me. I'd rather have the biggest jerk in the world save my life than the nicest person in the world mess up my surgery. And I think we need to get back to that meritocracy, but it's been embedded since 2010 that we select politicians based on who we like. That's why so many celebrities.
I'm with you. I always said we had a neurosurgeon in the hospital where I worked, and everybody would say, what a jerk he is. I said, he's the best guy out there. If I've got a brain tumor, I want the most arrogant guy with a God complex messing around in my noggin. You're absolutely correct.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I saw it from the inside. They came to me and I said, well, so we're just going to go, you're just going to recommend doctors on how nice the guy is? Like, how can this be a real model? But that project, by the way, had $11 million in VC funding behind it. They had plenty of money. I could have made plenty of money doing it, but I certainly turned it away because I didn't see the point. I'm like you. Yeah. Give me the big jerk with the big arrogance and the perfect track record. I'll take him when it comes to my body. But we've done this in Washington, D.C. Oh, I don't like Josh Hawley because he rocks the boat. The boat is sinking. Someone needs to flip it over and build a new boat. And we need to look for those people that really rally behind traditional values, whether people like hearing that term or not. Conservatism just means conserving the old ways. This country was great at one point because we didn't outsource all of our manufacturing, which is what Trump is talking about by raising taxes, raising tariffs, and eliminating taxes. Watch all the left-wing publications say, well, how will we have roads? You know, we'll have roads because those are paid for with your state taxes. And by the way, I live in Texas. I have no state tax, and we're building roads everywhere I look, hospitals everywhere I look. These are extortion tactics that have been sold to the American public since 1913. And it's going to take somebody like Donald Trump and guys like Josh Hawley to break that spell, which has been cast upon the ignorance in this country.
Yeah, well said, Eric. Well said. Yeah, you think you can't have roads with no state taxes? Agreed. Come out here to Texas. Hang out with Eric and I. We got roads.
Come on, you guys don't need roads. You got 4x4s.
That's right. Yeah, not only that, but if you break down, 2 guys in a 4x4 will be along very shortly to see if y'all need any help. All right, Eric Rice. Find Eric on The Rice Report. Get on over to YouTube and subscribe over there. Watch The Rice Report. Talk about rocking the boat. That's what Eric does. That's what we like to do. Eric, thanks for joining us today. Any final thoughts? Any other places you want to point people to follow your fantastic work?
It doesn't even matter anymore. I'm throttled everywhere. YouTube, Twitter. I'm EA_Rice on Twitter. I get no reach. I'm still throttled. But I just wanted to say God bless you guys. You're doing a great job on the show, bringing light to very sticky situations. God bless this country. We'll get through all this stuff. It's just a matter of time until the circus music ends. It's just a matter of time.
All right. Well said. Thank you for that. We needed that. Thank you for those kind words of inspiration, and best of luck to you over at the Rice Report. We'll be tuning in, and we'll talk to you again real soon here at State of the Nation on today's News Talk, TNT.